Hello folks, this is Mighty Scon here with another episode of Feed the Beast Revelation. And this is episode 43 now. And I am in a new place that I built. It's a room dedicated to storage. So I have my storage system up here. I can get up there, I think. Right here maybe? So here we are in the upstairs area, and it's just my system's been moved over to this room, and it's kind of spread out right now, but that's fine. I do have some black hole controller. This one's empty, but this one is the one that I set up before, and all my other stuff's here too. So those are all here. This is an extra one that I can set up later. So yeah, this is, what is this supposed to go to? Oh, yeah, I still have some things I need to set up in here. But for the most part, most of the stuff is working. I do have this set up, my processing set up, and then other things are also working, like my nether stars. And what I have been doing is working on a few things, mostly the draconic stuff. So I have this set here, and if I show you the upgrades, my shield capacity is now at draconic level. Shield recovery is still at basic, but all the shield capacity is at draconic level now. And that means that I am at 2,048, I guess, damage absorption. So I am pretty much at the point where I can actually fight the Chaos Guardian. And my bow is at draconic arrow damage level. So I am there as well. And I do have some upgrades for that, and some enchants. So I do have the, I guess arrow speed could be higher, but it's not that big of a deal. It already goes at a pretty good distance. I mean, it's a very small drop off. So I'm not too worried about that at all. And I think I'm up to like, 100,000 RF per shot. But I also did upgrade this as well. So this is at Wyvern, I guess, tier for RF capacity. And yeah, so that's it's set to charge armor and health items, so it's all working. Everything is working. The only thing it does not work for, and this is why I have this, is my baubles aren't charged by this as well. So I have to have this flux capacitor just for this bauble. And so when I open it up, you can see it just slowly, just refilling itself. And it's coming from this, and this only. So I have this just for this one thing, but it's fine. It works. So I am pretty close to fighting the Chaos Guardian, which I probably will do in the next episode. In this episode, I do want to focus and continue on building. So as you can see, this is a circular room. And so I do want to kind of talk about some of the some more building tips. And I'll get to that right away, so I don't, spend half the time talking about upgrades, because not much else has changed since then. But now let's get to the episode. Okay, I am back, and this episode will be on building tips. So we will be going over some further building tips and design, stuff like that. And the first one, I am standing outside that room. So down there is the room, and let me turn on my night vision so that you can see this better. So if you're in an upgraded version of the Draconic Helm, you get night vision as an option. And now you should easily be able to see that building. And so you can see it is a circle. And I did start a stairwell to connect to the rest of the building. And I did clear out a lot of stuff. I mean, this is a huge area that I cleared out using the builder. And so I wanted to talk about the builder just a little bit. I think I went over this a little bit in a previous episode regarding quarries and stuff like that. So in this one, I wanted to go over just actually building with the builder in a little bit of detail, because what you can do with this is pretty elaborate. But for now, I wanted to talk about this structure here, which I did make with the builder. And so you can use a shape card. And the shape cards, they have, you can make a circle using a cylinder that's solid, that's 1 high. And so that's a circle, essentially. You can actually, the solid cylinder will actually make a completely, a cylinder that's completely filled in, essentially. So if I make this, 5 blocks high, it's a filled in, complete kind of base for a circle. So you can do this with any circular structure, really. There's cylinders, there's domes. Take a dome and then make it 1 high, and you actually get a circle as well. It's a reverse dome as well, where the dome's at the bottom. So there's lots of different types of structures you can build with this builder and using the shape card. So this is the majority of the big structures that I will make with this shape card, because having to draw in a circle is a pain. Even if we had a tool such as the Open Blocks, I think build guide is what it was called. I don't think we have Open Blocks in here. I don't think that's a, yeah. Open Computers, but not Open Blocks. I don't think it's been updated to this pack. There used to be this build guide. Essentially, you can just click on a block, and then it'll make a circle around you, and you can just fill it in with stuff. That still takes a lot of time. And so having a device like this that you can feed it from the top full of stuff, it'll build out a structure. And I could probably just demonstrate this, because I don't think it's going to be that hard to do this. What I typically do, like I do with the quarry, I'll just mark one corner, and I'll mark the opposite corner, and then I'll just have it fill in. So if I'm doing a 1 block high one, I'll just do an example. Let's say I wanted to start here, this corner here. Oh, I gotta shift click here. I'll just demonstrate this just to show you how I do this. Start from here, and let's just make a little, get your angel block out. If you're working over a void area, an angel block is actually pretty invaluable. Here we go, right here. So we're on this corner, which is at this level. I should be able to put this out right in front of me. It's too high. Let's see, it's I'm at 41 and 40, 40. Okay, so we go down one more. You can also just take the block of something and then put it below. And this is not exactly measuring this out. This one I actually measured out to be 41 blocks wide. As you can see here, it's 41 blocks wide. So I specifically measured that out and actually wrote that down so that if I need to build another one like this, I know exactly the size to build. So you do want to keep track of the sizes that you're building if you care about that sort of thing. If not, then, by all means, just build whatever you want to build. So I don't know how big this is, but there's the other side here. So now we have 2 corners, and it's kind of just, it's going to fill in, 19 by 20. You can make this 20. So a 20 by 20, and let's turn this into a, I'll make another circle. I actually use cylinders, and I start with a solid base. just make a solid base cylinder. And so really what I just did is I actually went ahead and grabbed the coordinates relative to this box. That's this offset of -10, -26, and -2 is. It's going to offset the coordinates relative to where this box is actually located. And that's really the only reason I actually do that is because of having to figure that out. It would just take too much time. So I have my shape in here, and it's a cylinder, and it's 1 block high. Let's build it. There we go, it's built. And yeah, it kind of got smashed into this spot here, but it would come out to like right here actually. Yeah. And if you need to, you can always just break some blocks and then do it again. There you go. You have some more blocks filled in. It's always, if you run into a problem where you are, kind of not building or building into a wall or something, you can either offset it or you can just break some blocks and then just refire it off. Alright, so that's the exact size of the structure. 20 by 20 circle. And yeah, I'm using 2 different kind of blocks in that box up here. So it will pull, I think, at random. Because yeah, as you can see, we have 3 different rows that still have blocks in them. It doesn't start with the first. It just grabs at random from each one of these. For whatever reason that is, I'm not sure. I don't think you can configure that. Yeah, maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not sure actually. So what we have now is a circle, and what we can do is adjust this as well. So the next layer, we can go up. We can either do a plus, so we can either do 5 more, and then offset it +5, which would be -21, and make this hollow, which is kind of what I did. I just made it hollow, and then just moved it up a little bit, and then made it wider. This is I think this is 20 high. I think I wanted to do a 10 and a 10. I'm not 100% sure if that's how high that is. I just wiped out my settings, but so let's say we want to do this. We want to make a smaller version of this block here. Well, now I can just switch out the, for a white block, essentially. Just say I want a white block now to make the next level. And shoot, I'll just a lot of marble. Let's pick marble. That's probably not enough marble, but this is just for an example. I'll just destroy this here in a second using the quarry card, which is another easy way to break stuff that you just made or clear it out. Let's make sure our shape is correct and our dimensions are correct. So this should work. Let's put this in here and let's drop this back in here. Get my angel block out of there from breaking it. And so now we should have that block. Okay, so sometimes it will not be the exact height. So let's just go down 1 more. And that's a problem sometimes. If I were to make this 6, then I can, it does tell you how many blocks you need. So if I were to make this 6 and make this 23, let's get some more blocks. Let's build it. There we go. So we now have our next level, and I think I have still a few less blocks in there. Even if you just wanted to do like another level above it, that'd be the easiest thing to do. Then you can always just go in and use your wand to finish it off. So I made an unbreaking wand, which is crafted with another star and 2 sticks. And this one is a really good, this is probably the best wand you can get for builder. So if you want to build stuff, this is the best wand. And I'll show you how this works while we're on this topic. So let's say I actually wanted to go a little bit higher, just based off of style. Well, I have my hotkey set to M. And as you see, the mode's changing. And I usually just change it till I see the whole section that I want to build, which is going to be starting from this block here all the way around to that block over there. That's one less. There we go. So you see this one covers that entire area. There we go. And if I go, I can actually go up one more level too, using this same technique. So we now have a way to increase the size. Now breaking it, there is another wand, and it's a destruction wand, and it does kind of the same thing as a building wand, just in reverse. You can actually break sections of stuff. I prefer to use this to break things. So we'll break this now. So let's let me show you how I use it to kind of reset stuff. So we have our settings in here. We know what the sizes are, and I typically will write this down. So if you have this, you can note this information either on paper, or you can pull up like a text editor of some sort and just type this in, dim and offset, and it helps you keep track of your building structure. So that's I'm not gonna do that right now because I'm not. This is just an example. But if I were, when I built this, I actually kept track of that building structure in relationship to this builder here. So we have our structure built, but let's say we don't want that structure anymore. And so it's the same process for removing it. We need to go in and get the uppermost corner, which you can always just get some stone, get some cobblestone. And you need to extend this a little bit farther. And don't worry about overextending or whatever, because it's going to just pick up everything. But you need to get both sections, and it will pick up this stone too. So, all right, so that's one side, and then this is the other side here. So you have a structure that you don't want anymore. You're like, I didn't like the way that looked. Well, there we go. We have our coordinates. Let's drop that in here. And let's break it. There we go. Our structure's gone. So that's the first tip on this episode. It's just building using the builder. There's many shapes you can use. There's many ways to pull things off. And using this, instead of having to hand build this, saves you so much time. I mean, even if I wanted to make a more elaborate shape, with kind of maybe different rings with stuff in it, just even getting the outline with this is just so much easier than having to hand build everything. So definitely recommend using the builder from RF Tools. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about as far as tips go is kind of the problem where most people get stuck at. And it's trying to figure out where to begin. So this next tip will kind of cover that, and hopefully it will help you when you go to design a base on your own. So the best place to go in order to get started would be to find a real world example. When I say real world, I also mean an example maybe in a game as well. So when you are looking at, let's say, a real world example, for inspiration. So look for real-world examples to inspire you to build something in-game. And this is where most builders in Minecraft typically do. This is what most builders in Minecraft typically do, is they will typically go into a real-world example and pull from that in order to provide them with a framework, at least, to start. For instance, this is from this building I'm building is based on the game Fallout. And so I have designed this, not a replica. So I'm not building a replica of any particular design, but I'm getting an inspiration from the game Fallout. So if it's completely different when you're building a replica of something. So let's say I wanted to build a replica of something in the game. There is a easy way to do that, and it's actually much easier than, in my opinion, getting inspiration and then being creative on your own. So the easier route to go is just to build a replica of something. And what the easy way to do that is, if you have the dimensions of that structure, it'll make it easier to build it. And most architecture, especially if it's a famous building, will have the actual dimensions listed somewhere online. So you can find out, essentially what a dimension is for a particular structure just by searching, Google or Bing or whatever search engine you prefer. And so what you can do then is, once you have the dimensions, you can use the scale of one block. So this one block here is the equivalent to a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot, or 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter sized cube. So this is essentially a 1 meter cube, or a 3 foot cube. And that's based on the, the scale that your character is essentially an average height of a person. So your average height of a person is close to 6 feet. And so if I had my helmet off, I would probably be close to a 2 meter tall or 6 foot tall person. And so that's and it's not exact average, because if you want to get really specific, this block is actually a little less than 3 feet. And I can give you an example of why that is. But for the sake of the argument, that you can treat this as the dimensions of one block as a 3 foot cube or 1 meter cube, then it would be easy. Let's say if we're building the Taj Mahal and we know the dimensions. Let's just say, for example, the Taj Mahal is an even 300 meters across. So that would be essentially, well, it's probably smaller than that. So let's say, for instance, the Taj Mahal is a 100 meters across. Well, then that would be 100 blocks across, essentially, by, 50. Then you could build a structure 100 meters or 100 blocks by 50 blocks, based on the theory that one block is equal to 1 meter. And so that's why I say replicas are easier, because you don't have to think or be creative. You're essentially taking the mathematic principles and the architecture and applying them in the game. It's not exact, and the reason why it's not exact is because if you look at these little squares, these little different colored portions of this block here, those are pixels. And so as you can see, this one is, so this one's actually 16 pixels across, right? By 16 pixels by 16 pixels. So each block in Minecraft is a 16 pixel by 16 pixel by 16 pixel cube. So 16 pixel cube essentially. And if you were to get really intricate and theorize that each pixel is a smaller 2-inch by 2-inch by 2-inch cube, then you would see that 2 times 16 is 32. And if you want to get really, really specific and use, let's say, the chisel in bits mod to craft the Taj Mahal, that would essentially be a masterpiece in this game. And it would literally take you probably a year to do that, because you'd have to essentially carve out each pixel of the appropriate color. I mean, if you use something like, I think Taj Mahal is actually made out of marble. So let's say we use marble. There's a little less variation in the coloring in marble, right? So we have to pick out each pixel and then reconstruct it somewhere in the world based on the exact idea that each pixel is 2 inches by 2-inch cube, essentially. So with that in mind, yeah, you can get incredibly detailed with it. But you would not be amiss if you were to treat this as a 1 meter cube block. And you would be, based on your height as a character in the game, you would be totally fine and you would fit through all the doors and it would work properly for what you're trying to accomplish in the game, which is, a replica of sorts. But like I said before, you can get incredibly more detailed if you decide to go with the Chisel and Bits mod at the expense of even more time spent in the game on a particular structure. So that my build tip is essentially to get inspiration from the real world or from another game like I'm doing here. And you can either decide to go the route of replicating someone else's work, either in real life or in game, which is fine. You could do that. Or you can be creative and use what other people have done and try to make your own version of that in Minecraft, which, either way is totally fine. It's up to your playstyle and what you find is fun. And of course, take screenshots and share. You don't want your work to be, never seen again. You want to share it. And a little side note is that there's lots of websites that do share their work, such as like Reddit or places like that, where you can actually share the things that you've built in the game with the community in a whole. So that's the second build tip. Another point I wanted to make in regards to this tip is have a picture ready so that when you're building, you can kind of get inspiration from that picture. So, for instance, part of this base is going to be a bunker, which is, or a vault, I guess. And the other part is going to be kind of reminiscent of the Institute, essentially. So it's going to be like an Institute vault, essentially. That's kind of what I'm going with here. But, it's creativity, and it's not, there's no right or wrong based on, what you see me doing. And so so I wanted to also bring that up because don't feel discouraged if it doesn't look exactly the way you want it to in the beginning. Because I've actually rebuilt this particular base at least 3 times now, or 4 times. And you can go back and review the videos and see the progress and changes that I've made. And I'm getting close to a final design right now with what I'm doing with the circular structures over there. So I wanted to bring that up as well. And that leads me to the last point that I wanted to make, and the last tip, which is don't be afraid to have a phase of trial and error. You know, if you are easily discouraged or frustrated when you are building something, take a step back or try something different, or build another base somewhere else. You don't have to be stuck in this one place, especially with things like this where you can instantly pull up an inventory of all the stuff that you have in your base. That makes things a little bit easier. And, you know, based on the other tips that I've given you about hiding, you know, particular things and with hallways, and also providing, you know, an idea of what you need in a room, or dedicating rooms to specific areas. I mean, you can factor all that in, but in the end, it comes down to trial and error. And as you've seen me in this particular instance, where I'm not, you know, coming up with the ultimate plan and then executing it, I'm actually building rooms and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And based on that, you know, I come up with stuff like this, where I have a teleport room, and I'm in this base here. And so this is another, you know, something that, hey, I thought would be pretty cool looking. And so I decided to try it. And I actually like this design. And I got the inspiration of this room from the just looking at pictures of the Institute on Fallout 4. And a lot of their structures are circular. And they use a lot of glass. And they actually use a lot of plants. So I might actually put plants in here. Like grass maybe, or just potted plants. And, you know, I don't have, you know, kind of an idea of what the end result is going to be just yet. But I will, you know, put plants in certain areas and see how that looks. Maybe like around this glass area. And if you look at pictures of Fallout 4 and the Institute, you will see that those types of structures and those types of designs incorporated into that particular base that they have. And so I'm just drawing inspiration from that style and incorporating it into this particular base. And in the end, you know, I'll move things around and see what actually works out and looks good for this particular base. And then, of course, when I'm done, I like to take pictures of things. So I'll take pictures of it. And even if it's just the crappiest thing in the world, still take pictures of it and share it with people. I'd be interested to see them if you are willing to share them. Because I always enjoy seeing what other people can create. And what you may think is crappy, some other person may think it's an amazing idea. And it may inspire them to build something different based on what you've built. So don't ever be afraid to try things out and move things around. And don't ever think that you have to have the final design in your mind. But as you get closer like this, I can start making things set in stone, much like what I have here. I will work more on this, but since this wall will be drives, because I know this is going to be a stable section for my storage. So with that as my final tip for this video, I will wrap it up. And once again, I thank you for watching. And if you like this video, you know, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you think I am worthy of subscribing to. Take care and bye.